What is going on, everybody? And welcome in to the North End Podcast, episode 8, our Alex Ring, our captain episode. My name is Zach Graham, your host on the North End Podcast, joined as always by my good buddy, on record as my best friend, and still on this bachelor party. It's Ian Michaud. E, how you doing?
Still going strong is all I have to say.
Yeah.
And I'll leave it at that. What happens when you have 7 30-year-olds try to survive 6 days of partying?
Of a bachelor party?
But I will say I am still carrying the torch. I am still
So you're kind of the Alex Ring of that trip, is what you're saying.
I am refusing to give up. I may be undersized and hurt, but I'm still refusing to give up at all costs.
Well, undersized is maybe something you could say about Hani Mukhtar, who scored the only goal this past Saturday. And still hurt is what you could say about our boy Manchita, out again with that abdomen injury. But getting ahead of ourselves here, obviously we are here to talk about everybody's favorite team, Austin FC. And with you for the first time since last Thursday, we covered the midweek result against Real Salt Lake. And of course, since then, the 1-1 draw against Nashville SC. And so I think just from a wide view to start, E, before we kind of get down into the play-by-play, I think in the stadium, certainly myself, obviously you missing just your second game of the year, missed both games last week due to Peter's bachelor party up there.
Back-to-back red cards.
Yeah. I mean, I don't. We'll let you serve your suspension. We'll talk about the team's actually going to play a friendly against a USL team this weekend behind closed doors, apparently. But we'll let you serve your suspension. Then, so you can be back for the Vancouver match. But in the stadium, E, it really felt like it was a draw that felt like a loss. And I think it's because, from my perspective, there were not a ton of chances to score for either team in this match, but it just really felt like Austin FC, once they made the subs, and of course we'll get into it, once they made their subs in the second half, that they were really on the front foot pretty much the rest of the match. I guess until the very end where we were kind of playing a man down, but I left a little disappointed. Again, feeling like it was a loss, even though we got a point. And the point, ever important, because it clinched a home playoff game.
We'll take it.
Which obviously has been the goal. And now the next goal is to clinch the 2 seed, which is not far off. But how did you feel? Obviously, your second match in a row watching remotely through the stream. How did you feel coming away from this 1-1 draw?
The stream was much better, which was very nice.
Yeah.
I feel like the energy, the atmosphere, playoff type atmosphere translated through the stream. And I think maybe that's why, let me get into some deep psychology here. Maybe that's why you're feeling that way right now. Because, we really wanted that game. In your mind's eye, you probably saw Drew Easy, Seba hat trick, something going on there. But I don't know. I didn't feel great about 1 point. Obviously, I feel great about securing the home spot. And as coach said, we got to get to 2. And let's just keep moving up that way. I didn't feel great about a point either, especially the way they scored.
Oh God.
So I think that might, lay a little credence there, but yeah, I didn't feel great about it. I could tell it was an intense matchup. It was chippy. There was some good soccer going on there, man. It was intense. I enjoyed it, but I agree. I'm not super satisfied with the result.
Well, let's go ahead and get into it, because you mentioned how they scored. You
did I butcher the MVP's name again?
You did.
God.
And I'll say, look, I wasn't going to call you out.
I haven't said it in so long. I keep saying Seba.
True,
but
true.
It's the bachelor party. I don't know what else to tell you. It's not my fault. Seba, I'm so sorry. As someone who has a hard last name to pronounce, there's no excuse, but I'm still sorry. Please forgive me.
Well, hey, as somebody who gives the extra time hosts a tough time, pretty much every time they mispronounce his name, I cringe every time.
I know you die a little inside. I see it. And
but
rightfully
okay.
so. And rightfully so. You get mad at me when I text somebody's name wrong and you're like, you fucking moron. Seb, I'm sorry. It's just one of those things now where it's like tomato. It's just been like burnt into what's left of my burnt brain. And it just keeps coming out the wrong way. So Seba it is for me going forward. I was proud of it too. Because I was like keeping track of mine. I was like, oh, you said Seba again, you beautiful bastard.
Yeah. Just sticking to what you know there, right?
I know.
No. Well, I would say too, like when people say tomato, who the fuck says tomato? That's one of the dumbest sayings, like apples to oranges.
Yeah,
as Lil Dicky would say,
a lot of cultured people.
Why can't fruit be compared?
There's a lot of tomatoes out there. Anyways, I'm a tomato guy.
Anyways, we ended last episode bickering over if you say the MLS or MLS and talking about other leagues and such. And by the way, if you think about it, Major League Baseball, you don't say the Major League Baseball, you just say Major League Baseball, right? Similar to MLS. So anyways, let's get into the match here.
Look, I'm trying. We can't learn 2 new words.
Hey, well, the one thing that I think we all like to see before the match even started, the lineup changes, right? We had some pretty heavy rotation on the Austin side here. Again, 3rd game of the week. Lineup changes. Gite coming off the hat trick, which obviously we gave him his flowers last episode. Do it again. Gite, a fantastic week for him, I think, when all was said and done. He was in there for Maxi Urruti. Johan Valencia, which I think both of us predicted after Wolf wanted to start him against Salt Lake. In there for Danny Pereira. Then Ethan Finley actually came on for Diego Fagundes. So you saw the Finley-Rigoni pairing on the wings there. Romagna for Cascante, which I don't think we were surprised about either. I don't think I predicted that. I don't remember if you talked about it, but I think I was talking about rotation at the fullback positions rather than center back. But we'll talk about Romagna. I think the overwhelming consensus was he played quite well. And then I thought what maybe the most surprising one, Owen Wolf for Alex Ring. Which I did not really see coming because Owen Wolf, and we'll talk about it, got called up again. U19s. They're going across the pond for some important games. For the U19 here in the international break. So I was surprised to even see him in the team. I thought he was going to be on a plane already. Because they play we're recording this Monday, September 19th. The first match is Wednesday. So pretty quick turnaround, obviously jet lag, etc. for our boy Owen going over there. But those were the lineup changes. So when you saw this, 5 changes in the 11. And if you think, Stuver is going to be back there 99% of the time. So it's pretty much half of the lineup changed from Wednesday to Saturday. What were your thoughts on the 11?
I was fine with it. It was clear that people needed, some fresh legs, some new burn. Obviously, we knew from the last game that Wolf wanted some more Valencia time. So we saw that one coming. I'm just loving that we have Rigoni and we can just, when we decide to switch, when he just wants to switch sides of the field, and Finley can work both sides now too a little bit, and we can just have that interchangeability with Rigoni. Just makes us so much more versatile. So I love having him in the starting lineup.
And I think, sorry, go ahead.
No, I think did you sneak in there that you thought Romagna played pretty well?
I did.
Yeah, I thought he played well too. And he just needed to be subbed out. 20 minutes before.
And we'll get to the subs because I think there's actually a pretty interesting conversation about what could have, should have, what have you, what could have been done right at the end there, especially when we were down to 1 sub. But we'll talk about it when we get to the second half. Our buddy Damon sits in front of us there in section 123. We had some in-depth discussion down the stretch of that match about what we would do, etc. So
sounds like quality conversation.
And I know, hey, Damon, was missing you. I hadn't seen you in a couple of weeks. I know you guys are buddies.
I miss my boy.
So the first half here, man, overall was boring compared to most matches in general, and certainly Austin FC matches. Obviously, we've been a really high-scoring team in this league this season. We give it up pretty nice to other teams at times as well. So I want to say the XG in the first half was like 0.04 for Austin and like 0.23 for Nashville.
Well, we saw what they were doing early. I mean, they had 8 fucking guys.
Yeah.
Like,
it's same
like
game plan as 2 weeks ago, right?
We saw what they were doing.
They're sitting back and just
playing
waiting
the long
to counter.
ball. And they honestly might have the 2 most dangerous weapons that I've seen playing those long balls with Schaffelberg and Mukhtar.
Yeah,
these
having those guys
fucking lightning in a bottle.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Wow.
Well, and I thought, obviously, Mukhtar gets the PK goal. We'll get there, but I thought we did a much better job as a team corralling those guys
100%
throughout the 90.
We'll get into it.
Yeah. So I guess the first thing, and I didn't find, I guess I could have gone through like the ESPN play-by-play, but I don't even know if they had it there because nothing came of it. But I thought the most exciting part of the first half, maybe the 1A to a Rigoni cross 1B later in the half, but early on, there's that Rigoni kind of sliding cross, takes it down the right side and puts it right across the face of goal.
Yes.
And just there's nobody there that can connect because it was a tap-in. It was perfectly
100%.
placed.
Yep.
Joe Willis, Nashville keeper, could not get to it. And I thought that was just one of the few examples of real quality that Rigoni showed. I think rightly so. I think the Austin FC fan base still feels like he's a little bit out of sync with the team, and I would agree with that.
Yeah.
But we continue to see, whether it's been his first 3 appearances off the bench or these 2 starts that we've seen, that you see those flashes of raw talent. And as long as we continue to see those and he gradually meshes with the team more and more, both on the offensive side and the defensive side of the ball, I just think we're going to continue to sing his praises more and more. But yeah, I mean, I actually didn't get to watch the replay. I'm going totally off my memory in the stadium here and just the rundown of key moments on FOTMob here.
Yeah.
Did that look as good on screen as it did in the stadium? Because I thought it was a goal for sure when it started squeaking through the box there.
100%. And the ball from Seba was so good. It was so good that Rigoni needed to have just a half second longer to give our boys more of a chance to react and get in a more threatening position there. Because like you said, it was a tap in. Because I'm pretty sure he takes one touch and then it's in.
Yeah.
And the initial ball from Seba is just beautiful.
Yeah.
Lofting over the top, bounces in front of him. He gets to run onto it like in stride, comes across the front of the net. Nobody there. But again, same thing. We've seen these flashes with Rigoni every time he's played. And I do agree that it's a bit out of sync. We're definitely trying to force feed him the ball. We're definitely trying to get him involved. And I think that's a good thing. And yeah, let's work those kinks out now. Let's get him some more time where he's feeling more comfortable with these dudes. I think he has, I don't know if it's innate or what it is between him, Seba, and Diego, but when they're passing and playing off one another, it seems much more fluid than anyone else on the squad.
Yeah, I think I definitely agree with that. And to your point about that ball that set up the Rigoni cross from Driussi, like we saw a very similar pass, a longer pass, right, in the RSL match that was from our half to where Rigoni is residing there on the right. Yeah, I really think, like you said, the connection between Fagundes when he's on the field, like we know the connection between Fagundes and Driussi, right? We've seen it time and time again this season, even late last season. And when Rigoni is on with those guys, whether it's one of them or both of them, it does seem like they have just this innate chemistry. And like, maybe that's a South American thing, right? Maybe it's like you play a similar style because you're from a similar region. And even if these guys are in their late 20s now, like, you know, I don't have any other explanation for it, because these guys have not been teammates that long. And I think they look really good, even though they look good right for the amount of time that they've spent together.
Yes.
I think that they have a lot of room to grow, to be sure.
I agree.
But yeah, I think it's still just as promising as it was the last time we talked. And maybe we get a little too excited for Rigoni, but you know, it is what it is. We're big fans of the hype and of the potential.
Still quite excited about it.
So
still quite excited about it to see it fire on all cylinders, especially with those three.
So about 25-ish minutes in, I thought Nashville, this is where they really started to threaten more. 27th minute, you get Hani Mukhtar, he gets a little loose outside the 18, probably 25 yards from goal, something around there. Gets a little bit of space and just has a shot on net, and Stuver he's stood still.
This is the one that got deflected, right?
I believe so. Yeah, it ends up going out for
Ruben's
a corner.
Back.
Yes.
I mean, if it was on target, if it's on frame, it's a goal. Because there's nothing Brad could have done there.
Or we would have been, you know, tweeting about Stuver for save of the week, right? Like if he was going to get to that, it was going to be pretty spectacular.
I don't even know if he had a chance to react with just the velocity it came off at Ruben's back there.
Yeah.
Especially the positioning he needed to have to be in the right spot for the actual trajectory of that shot.
Yeah. Well, so the ensuing corner after that Mukhtar shot, where I think everybody in the stadium there was a collective like ooh and ah at the shot, and just how, you know, like you said, the velocity that it approached the net with, just the helplessness of Stuver just kind of standing there watching it go over his left shoulder and I think off the bar, right, or just over the crossbar.
Just missed.
The ensuing corner, CJ Sapong misses a point blank sliding chance there. And so I thought Austin those two chances combined within about 90 seconds of each other. That was the first time in the stadium where I was like, okay, like, all right, we're lucky now that the bounces kind of went our way there, right? And
for sure.
Find the back of the net.
For sure. Just as Cascante missed that little dribbler, Sapong misses that wide open net there. Apparently he's been in a bit of a rut.
Whole season, man.
Yeah, they were really, I mean, they talked about it on the stream.
Oh, so did you have again, you were watching the ESPN stream. Did you have the Nashville announcers on that?
I can't remember.
Maybe if they're talking so much about CJ Sapong, right?
They were really, someone was emphasizing that it was like, well, he's just in the game because Mukhtar still really works well with him and appreciates having him up there. But other than that, he hasn't scored since late May.
Yeah. I think he's still stuck on 5 goals, and yet he was scoring early in the season. So
really, but those were the two. It was like, okay, we're rattled. Time to regroup here. We just got lucky.
Yep, and I thought they, you know, if regrouped is the word we want to use, then I thought they did that to the best of their ability the rest of the half. I mean, 35th minute, I kind of mentioned Rigoni's cross earlier. It was weird to see somebody else other than Diego Fagundes in the corner taking those crosses. But since he was on the bench, 77 taking those crosses, and his cross in the 35th minute found Gite's head right there in the middle of the box. But his attempt gets blocked. I think Musa, he wanted a handball for a second, but I think there was absolutely nothing there. Nobody else but him was calling for it. So, I mean, really both teams off target with the few chances that they had in the first half. And kind of the first 10 minutes of the second half too. Like we mentioned the XG in the first half, one of the most uneventful 45 minutes of soccer that's been played at Q2 this season rather. I guess maybe 10 minutes of the second half is a little bit generous, because kind of right off the kickoff in the second half, 46th minute, Johan Valencia, ball comes down to him, and he has a ton of space and looks up and decides to have a crack, and he nearly scored.
That was something else.
I mean, we haven't seen that from him.
No, not at all.
And I loved it.
I loved it too. I thought he was great. Thought he was great.
To put Joe Willis on his heels like that was really he hadn't been tested like that in the entire first half, it felt like. So to have somebody like Valencia become dangerous and be somebody that the Nashville defense had to start reckoning with. Again, he didn't threaten really that much the rest of the match, but just to put himself on their radar, I thought was a good thing. Again, to see these types of positive things out of players we haven't seen a ton of this season, or certainly seen really any consistency with the minutes or the performances from Johan Valencia. That was great to see. Similar? Go ahead.
I was quite encouraged by his performance.
Yeah.
That's all I had to say.
I thought it was a similar chance, like 7 minutes later, 6-7 minutes later, Dax McCarty.
Holy
shot
smokes.
from distance. His shot goes off the bar.
Yep.
Right in front of us, obviously. And that was kind of just a multiple. I guess I should say this. I thought in the second half, Austin's defense was fantastic in the box. I guess we'll talk about Johnny G's foul or non-foul, depending on where you were sitting in the stadium. But like that, the Dax McCarty shot came off a rebound of another shot that was initially blocked by Austin there in the box. And I thought we saw a lot of that in the second half. And, those type of blocks and certainly clearing the area are two places that Austin is in the bottom half and maybe the bottom third in the league in terms of times that they successfully do those things per game. And so against a team like Nashville in this game that was really a kind of grind it out, drag it out type of match, I thought that was good to see, especially in the playoffs where I think games in the postseason, again, this is going to be our first foray into the MLS playoffs as Austin fans, but I think that type of match is what we're going to see a lot more often in those knockout rounds compared to what we've been used to this season.
That makes sense to me.
A few minutes after that McCarty miss off the bar, corner for, I believe, still Rigoni in there in the 54th minute.
Correct.
Finds Romagna's head.
Yep.
And I left my feet jumping to celebrate because it was past Joe Willis and then Dan Lovitz, number 2 for Nashville, standing there on the goal line and boots it out. Actually, doesn't really boot it out, kind of boots it up.
Yep. And then it was on.
And then he ends up being the one that heads it out again. So he clears it up into the air.
Yep.
And then he gets his head to it and directs it towards the sideline where there's kind of a chase. Jacob Schaffelberg is the one that gets to it.
Ridiculous.
And an amazing long ball.
I don't know if that was intentional, but that was absolutely absurd.
I think there had to be some intent to it.
Yeah, I don't think he was trying to kick it out of bounds by any means, but holy God, it was the perfect ball.
So Schaffelberg launches this ball.
Yeah.
And again, I think the intent was to let Hani Mukhtar, who is one-on-one with John Gallagher, I think the intent was to let him run onto it.
Mm-hmm.
But the accuracy, I don't think Schaffelberg would have if he tried that again 10 times.
Yeah.
Drops right to Mukhtar, almost in stride. And John Gallagher, as you would expect, without the ball at his feet, beats Mukhtar to the spot there, kind of in the box. Mukhtar continues going towards his right. And I'll just go ahead and tell you, man, that view from the north end, he got the ball first.
Okay.
And I didn't think there was you saw obviously more replays at home than we did in the stadium. Q2 notorious for not showing any replays, especially that might be bad against our team.
True.
I think there's probably some reason for that, similar to why they don't show extra, stoppage time in the stadium. So it maybe protects the officials a little bit more.
Okay.
But man, just as a fan, if something bad is going to happen to us on the pitch, regardless, if we're reviewing a handball or a foul in this case in the box, whatever, can I please see it and not have to get on Twitter 10 minutes later and try to see the replay.
Totally agree. Is it like that in other stadiums? Like I'm assuming probably so.
Yeah, I mean, I think it probably leans into that idea of not riling up the fans even more.
Okay.
Just maybe in the soccer culture, but you don't see that in the sports that you and I have been more familiar with in our lives, with basketball and football. Like, you show replays all the time, bad or good, in the stadium. So obviously the PK is awarded. They don't even go to the monitor. Obviously there was a check in Atlanta, but did not send the official to the monitor, which I honestly, man, I was surprised. Like, I know that sitting 11 rows up and it's full speed, like, I'm not going to have the best angle on it in the stadium, but like you see before Mukhtar goes down, you see the direction of the ball change on the replay. And so to me, that was I guess maybe I'm confused as a fan on, like, if you get the ball first but still make contact with the player, like, where's the line drawn on he beat him to the ball, or it's like it's too much contact where, like, okay, you know, maybe like, again, in basketball you could block a shot, but if you body the guy to the floor, you're probably going to get called for a foul. Like, I guess it's similar to that, but
my understanding was
I really thought Johnny G made a great effort to get back, and I thought he should have been rewarded with a no call or an overturn there on replay. But again, those guys have all the angles there in Atlanta, so they probably know more than me. How did you see it?
He played him perfectly for 98% of that play.
Yeah.
I think he did everything he needed to do, and there was really not a lot of reason to try to go for the ball in that situation. At that point, you've done your job. You have your keeper back. You've minimized the angles that Mukhtar has at that point, and now he's also running out of space.
Sure.
So I felt like, I don't know if, of course, in the moment we can sit here and talk about it and what he could have done, this, that, the other thing. I just didn't think he needed to, like, go to, not that he went all the way to ground, but he went down. You know, he goes to ground a little bit. And that just gives the ref an opportunity, a chance there. And I rather would have just had Stuver take his chance to block that ball. And I think that we played fantastic defense, particularly against Mukhtar, for 98% of the game. And this was the little 2%, and he gets on the board.
Yeah, and then the PK, Stuver guesses right. I don't think he got a touch on it. But he was right there. A well-placed shot by Mukhtar.
Absolutely.
I think I won't blast the unedited version of what I sent in the group chat after that, but it was something to the effect of score a real goal, something like anyways, if you look on the year, and we'll get to Driussi getting his goal here in a minute. Non-PK goals this year, I believe it's Sebastian Driussi 18, Henny Mukhtar 17.
We'll take it.
I mean, I think you again, like I love to tell the Nashville fans, there is no one stat that makes an MVP.
For sure.
But I think goals minus PKs, that's an important stat as well, because, you know, PKs are different. You don't even have to be the one that draws the foul to take the PK.
For sure.
So, you know, guys that take and Driussi takes them for us for the most part. So those guys just get to benefit in their goal total when their team gets fouled.
I mean, I you know, there's always going to be biases. There's always going to be all sorts of, you know, favoritisms towards certain players. But I think if you just watch the game from an impartial standpoint, you can see that Seba does much more than Mukhtar.
Yeah.
He's responsible for more. He is responsible for more aspects of the game than Mukhtar is.
100%.
Particularly, not that I'm saying that they have some sort of loaded roster, but look where we were last year. Look where we are now.
100%.
Yeah.
And even last year when Driussi arrived, right, and how much better the team got in terms of their underlying metrics, the goals they did score, not just the XG, right, but the goals they did score.
And let us talk our shit too. We didn't have our other DP.
100%.
We didn't have them. Like, we can talk our shit a little bit, you know.
And so the DP that we do have, and again, we're not forgetting about Alex Ring. This is the captain episode, right? Episode 8. But he's just in a little bit of a different category DP wise than certainly Driussi. And Driussi woke up in a big way after that PK was converted. Immediately after 58th minute, Driussi, extremely crafty pass on the left side, kind of from right outside the box into Ethan Finley, who's in the box. And Finley, nice little turn, takes a shot and goes into the side netting. And, with the angle we have in the north end there in the second half, there was actually a good amount of goal celebration in the north end.
Oh, shit.
I will say I have got my depth perception adjusted enough being down there all these games where I knew that didn't go in, but there was almost half the section, I think, stood up and started to applaud before they realized that shot hit the side netting, but didn't have to wait long to celebrate for real, right? Right after that triple sub, Coach Wolf reacts very quickly to the Mokhtar PK and the scoreline changing. Danny Pereira comes in for Johan Valencia, Diego Fagundes on for Emiliano Rigoni, and Alex Ring, the captain, in there for Owen Wolf. So obviously more bite than we would normally have with a group of substitutions, not just this one, but the others that come later on. And so I really thought I thought for sure we were going to get one. And I was thinking in the first half that hey man, it's 60th minute. We can bring on 5 real starters. We would maybe be able to steal the game. Obviously it didn't play out that way, but immediately after 61st minute, Austin wins a corner. So these guys are on for 90 seconds, if that. Win a corner. Diego, of course, back on the corner. He whips it in kind of over everyone. Musa goes for it.
He hits it.
And it does graze his head. And similar to the Ruben assist from Wednesday, Gite credited with the assist here. I guess the official assist, right? I think Diego still got a hockey assist for actually taking the corner. But it kind of glances off Gite, and Lovitz, who had previously cleared the Romagna chance off the goal line, he was originally marking Driussi. He went to contest the ball with Gite, which let the ball fall right to a wide open Sebastian Driussi. Maybe one of the easiest goals he's scored all season. Joe Willis tries to close down the space, and Driussi pops it over him into the top of the netting inside the goal, luckily. Did not miss from 5 feet. And puts it away 1-1. And again, in the stadium, it felt we just immediately nullified their PK.
Yeah.
We just brought on 3 of our most quality players, energized. We've got half an hour to go here to get another. But it was not to be, unfortunately. So let's talk about the center backs here, because the next real big change comes in the 69th minute. Julio Cascante comes on for Ruben Gabrielson, who had gone down. I believe that was his 3rd time he had gone down cramping.
That's right.
He went down early in the first half, not dissimilar to the Orlando match where he was actually sick and went down inside the first 20 minutes, but what was clearly cramping. And so this 3rd time he goes out, Julio comes in. So you've now got a very 2021 pairing back there with Julio Cascante and Johan Romagna. And, a fresh Julio off the bench, and Nashville not threatening too much all night. I didn't feel terrible about it, but Ruben is the rock on that back line this season. And he does not come out often. So it felt a little shaky. But again, this is where the last 20 minutes, there were, like I said earlier, a lot of key deflections, clearances, shots blocked by Austin.
Yes, our body positioning and the way we were staying in between the ball and the net, the ball, the net, was just fantastic all night. We weren't biting on anything Mukhtar was doing in terms with skill play at the feet, just containing him as best we could, and a lot of deflections, like you said, a lot of blocks, a lot of bodies in front of the balls. This just popped into my head, and I'm glad that I'm not going to allow it to go not talked about. but Nick Lima was amazing.
Yeah.
Nick Lima was incredible. He was everywhere. He was fantastic. And the same sort of situation, just playing excellent defense without fouling. Then he gives, it was at Schaffelberg. Man, we beat Schaffelberg's. We beat that boy up. I mean, he is absolutely fantastic. He might have the most punchable face in the league that I have. Have you seen his face, bro?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, my gosh. I'm a pacifist, and even I want to go after him. But, yeah, Nick Lima was fantastic. Ruben comes out. There's always a bit of trepidation in the air. That's our guy. He's not the captain, but, he's our voice back there.
Well, so with Ring on the bench, obviously the first matchup against Nashville, Ring also sat, and we had Driussi wear the armband. It was Ruben with the armband.
Good. Good.
Which I actually had a question. It was answered when they announced the lineups in the stadium for me. But I don't believe, if I recall correctly, I don't think they indicated who was wearing the armband when they tweeted out the lineup. So I was wondering if it was going to be Driussi or Ruben. We've talked before about thinking that 4 could wear the armband.
Deserves it.
Yeah, I agree. But just to finish up on that, I think you're spot on with Lima, and I think he's strung a couple really good ones together, hasn't he?
I agree.
Since LAFC, I feel like he's been really good.
Ever since he saw me on the boat.
Yeah, there you go. Was that the day after LAFC that you saw him on the boat?
Yes, it was. It was.
Well.
Also, Johnny played great.
Yeah, I thought he had a good.
And it was 50-50. I mean, he's tasked with guarding the leading goal scorer in the league, and in MLS.
Exactly. That's grammatically correct, I think.
Thank you.
Well, so again, back to the point about how good the defense was in front of Stuver. 9 of the 14 shots taken by Nashville were blocked by our defenders.
Wow. Yeah.
Did not get to Stuver.
Besides that one that Mukhtar decided he was going to punt. That was laughable. Yeah. They showed a highlight of it in the first half. I was like, he almost hurt somebody.
Yeah. Oh, also, talking about Mukhtar too. Like, this is obviously you and I, even in an extra inebriated state, I would think would be able to stop ourselves from doing anything stupid when an opposing player confronts the fans, like Jesus Ferrer in Houston, etc. Right. When he came up, I mean, because when he celebrated the PK, it was right in between.
I saw. I was kind of like, why aren't those fans doing nothing?
Right. So I can give you some solace in this, because when I watched the highlights and I saw that, none of the people in the first 3 rows were throwing the appropriate amount of expletives or birds at the guy who just scored against us and then saluted the crowd. But I can tell you that from rows 4 up, there were plenty. So like there was a stronger reaction than I think you saw.
What's that subreddit? Praise the cameraman.
Yeah.
Praise the cameraman. He didn't go up.
He did his job there.
And you know what? Shout out to those people for having some class in the front row. I don't think I would want to see myself brazenly drunk, screaming like I'm glad there's not footage of me.
That came out of my mouth. Damon said something similar, except in his English accent. So
that makes it 20 times more insulting.
Yeah, absolutely. And intimidating sometimes, I think.
I think so too.
So, okay. So Cascante comes in, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right around that time, I think, is when Johan Romagnus starts to really have trouble with his legs and cramping, and we've seen him have those issues before. And I don't think it's super surprising, because he hasn't gotten a lot of time, real game minutes over the full season for a variety of reasons.
Also, his thighs are just the size of fucking Mopac.
Yeah.
Like,
so I want to talk about the subs here in a second, but 77th minute, Gite steals the ball, finds himself alone in the middle of 4 Nashville defenders right outside the 18. It was Driussi's pressure again. You want to talk about the things that he does that contribute to this team. It was his pressure in that high press, which I don't think had as much bite without Maxey in there. Because as GT might and as Husen might, they're not, their work rate isn't as high, and I don't think they're as agile or as quick.
They don't have the same instincts as Maxey.
I agree.
Maxey has the instincts for that. Yeah,
I agree. But so it was Driussi's pressure there, forced a heavy touch, allows Musa to just get onto the ball by himself there, and a massive crack that goes right at Joe Willis.
That was the one
into his chest. Yeah. That was where you could have stolen the game. I don't think there was a better chance really the rest of the way, almost for either team.
They were just trying to get out of there at that point.
I thought both teams were, really, right?
I don't know. Seba, off on that play there, Seba is literally face guarding that goalie as he's like walking side to side.
Sure. Yeah,
I think he looked like he wanted another one, and just to see his work rate into the latter part of that game made me confirmed that for me.
Sure.
And maybe that's why the 1 point doesn't feel as nice as it does sometimes, because we wanted 3 here. We wanted to get a little get back.
Absolutely.
But the thing about the get back is that there is no expiration date.
Yeah.
There's no expiration date on a get back.
I would love to see time. I would love to see those guys for a get back in about 5-6 weeks here. Second round action, bring them back to Q2.
We've learned today you can't be too worried about your initial playoff opponents apparently. So
yeah, just play who's in front of you.
Just got to play who's in front of you apparently.
So yeah, and I think you're right. There was more pressure probably from that point on until maybe the 86th, 87th, when Romagna really started to struggle, right? Because it became almost like he didn't come off.
This is not a new thing for him either.
No, of course.
That's why
he's that's why a 90-minute guy, right?
Of course not. And he'd have to be eating a full course meal at halftime just to have enough calories.
Right.
I don't know. Yeah, well, we can get into what we thought should have happened with that substitution rotation there.
Let's do it now, because obviously Urruti is the one that does come on in the 87th, and he comes on for Musa Gite. So that would indicate that they were chasing another goal in the 3 points. But I guess I think when Romagna really,
he was lying almost.
I think it was a little bit after the sub. I think it was 89th or so, maybe 90th, when Romagna really goes down and is can't move, has to be trainers have to come on, stretch him out, get him to the side, allow the ref to wave him back on. But that was not the first time that he was visibly struggling.
For sure.
That was just when it got to
that was when
his
body had shut down.
Yes.
We're not trying to say I'm not trying to say he didn't, he wasn't trying to give it his all and last that entire game. His body
that's why he
just quit.
That's why he was like that, is because he was playing so damn hard. And again, I thought he played great.
I thought he played great too.
But and again, I referenced Damon earlier about our conversations about what we would do. Both of us were agreeing that the sub should be for Romagna and move Ring to center back.
It's Ring to center back. Of course.
And I think Gite was hurting a little bit too, but you can let him stand up at the front.
Absolutely. We can't just have one player just strolling in the
especially
midfield.
Who's in the back.
Yeah, absolutely. No, the substitution was Ring to the back, for sure. And so Alex Ring would have died on that field before he let somebody score a goal in that situation.
Yeah, and I guess I don't know, again, if it was just me not knowing the game well enough to know what the thinking was there with the coaching staff, but
it should they thought he could bounce back, they thought he could survive it. I don't know. I mean, we're pretty adamant Wolf supporters. We have his back. I think he made a mistake here, and it was pretty clear that Johan needed a sub. I think, like you said, it was clear with the Maxey substitution that we wanted 3. And I feel like this would put us in a better position to get 3 and secure 3 there. But that's just my take on it.
No, I think that was, like you said, I think that was probably the thinking on the sidelines there. But the thinking in the stands, at least there in section 123, was not on the same wavelength. But so I think, again, like, you come out of that game with a point, it's fine. It's a little disappointing. Again, because, and like you mentioned at the beginning, right, there was a little extra kick to this game because of how personal it felt for us, just between these two teams and what they, what happened in the first matchup 2 weeks prior. So yeah, Austin 1-1 draw, gets the point. A very important point here.
Very important point
in the playoff race. Secures at least one home playoff match.
Woo, baby.
Yeah, and overwhelmingly the favorite to secure that 2 seed. I guess, but before we jump completely out of this game, again, the XG for this one, Nashville 1.4, Austin 0.87, and I thought that felt fairly accurate.
Okay, I will accept that.
Coming out of this match, where do you see the MVP race as it stands now? I guess, if the season ended today, who would you vote for, and who do you think the people with the people who matter, right? The people who are going to vote, who do you think they would vote for?
I would vote for Seba. And all I would really touch back to is that he is responsible for more things on the pitch than Mukhtar is. I think Mukhtar would be the person who wins MVP if the vote ended, particularly today. Yeah. Obviously, with a few games left on the schedule, we'll see here. But I do think Mukhtar is probably going to walk away with it unless Seba eclipses him on goals here. But again, this is my first MLS MVP race.
Yeah, I mean,
so I don't know. I don't know. I mean, somebody voted for Carmelo once.
It's going to be interesting to see the voting breakdown and what the voters value, right? Yeah, it's I don't really have much to add. I'm right there with you. I would vote for Driussi for all the reasons that we've discussed here, that we've tweeted from the podcast account, things like that. Like, and I don't think we don't need to convince most of the people listening here that are Austin fans already that our guy should get the votes. And I'm with you. I think that the voters would probably give it to Hanny still. But like you mentioned, 2 games remaining for each of these clubs, and we'll see how it shakes out. Like we said after the first Nashville game, at the end of the day, what matters for this team is securing that 2 seed, which they have almost completed.
On our way. On our way.
And then, health, overall health, and relative form headed into that first round match, because that first round game, man, is going to be, I can only imagine the tension in that stadium.
It's going to be a fucking party.
Yeah. So yeah, obviously looking forward to that. And as we do, let's get into the playoff picture here. Austin FC, and we like to look at that 538 model, right? 538 is not everybody's favorite outlet, whether you're looking at soccer or any other sport or politics, maybe in 2016. But Austin FC in their MLS model, 99% chance to clinch the 2 seed. And I believe all they need to do it is a point from one of these last 2 matches at Vancouver and then home Colorado. And then they could also lose both. And as long as Dallas does not win both of their final matches, would clinch. With any Dallas draw or loss, would clinch that 2 seed. So again, 99% chance per 538 to finish with that 2 seed. So let's hope we get it done with a win in Vancouver, October 1st.
2 games we should win.
Yeah, it should be at the very least 4 points. 1 on the road, 3 at home. I think anything shy of that, I'm disappointed.
Yeah, beat both these teams. Let's go into playoffs on a super nice high.
Yeah.
Feeling good about ourselves. I don't want to be coming off a stinky Colorado loss or Colorado draw.
Yeah. Well, and I guess I would care, like, if they put in a good performance against Vancouver, clinch the 2, come home with 3, then that last game doesn't matter.
Okay.
So let's maybe we start our guys and sub off half of them at halftime, or 3 or 4 of them, right? You know what I mean? Like, let's get
the job
rotation
done first.
Yes.
Let's get the job done first. We'll worry about it.
And let's get it done with a win, right? Like, we didn't want to back into playoffs. We finally clinched that spot, clinched the home playoff game now. So let's not back into the 2 seed. Let's take it because we won in Vancouver.
Concur.
So other MLS scores from the weekend, obviously, with Austin clinching the playoff spot. We're going to touch on this until we start the playoffs. Some of the scores from the weekend impacting the Western Conference race. LAFC 3-1 over Houston, back on track. 2 Carlos Vela penalty conversions. It was a good game. I didn't get to watch the last 30 minutes or so, but LAFC taking care of business. I won't say they're back on track, but it's certainly a step in the right direction, taking down Houston. Sporting KC continues their late season run, although they were officially eliminated this weekend. 4-1 over Minnesota.
Wow.
Was a fun stream recap that I saw from Kevin Lopez, everybody's favorite SKC fan, on his stream, especially anytime they score 4 goals. And William Agata gets on the score sheet. It's time for all the Willie jokes. Vancouver over the Sounders in one of those Cascadia matchups, 2-1. Huge implications there, down near the 7 seed. A huge blow to Seattle after they were riding high, I think, a little bit after the 3-0 win over Austin.
Yeah.
Knocked down a peg by Vancouver. The Galaxy, 4-1 winners over the Colorado Rapids. Our boy, Ricky Pooch. 3 assists.
Start the Ricky Pooch recruitment campaign.
Yeah. So, and here's the thing too, man. Like, we've been talking personally, and we brought it up, I think, last episode, maybe the episode before, about how, like, there's certain teams and players that we want to see come to Q2. Most of them in the East, because we see all the Western Conference teams this year. But, like, we didn't see Ricky Pooch when he came with the Galaxy back in, I think, late April or early May. We might see him in the first round, because the Galaxy on the list of teams we'll get to in a second that could be in that 7 seed. FC Cincinnati did take out RSL up there in Salt Lake, 2-1. Big win for Cincinnati. I think both goals to Brenner there. So that Brandon Vasquez front line continues to produce for Cincinnati. San Jose FC Dallas 1-1 draw. Paul Areola, red card late in that one, so he will not be available for the penultimate match for Dallas. Again, maybe gonna help us out with the seeding there. If they don't have Areola, certainly a lesser squad the Dallas will roll out there next time. Portland drew the Columbus Crew 1-1 on a 95th minute goal. Did you see that replay?
I did not. I was doing bachelor party activities when you sent that one in the group chat there.
So essentially, it's one of those that we would be furious if it happened to us. I don't know what happened the entirety of their 5 minutes of extra time, but they're a solid 30 seconds over the 5 minutes that they're supposed to have when this shot was taken.
Oh boy.
And so, Columbus, I saw some stats that their fans were dropping in the match thread for that about just how many points they've dropped. Dude, they've dropped like 17 points after the 85th minute this season.
What the hell?
Yeah, I'm quoting that off the top of my head, so it may be a few more, maybe a few less, but yeah, it was a eyebrow-raising number. So their struggles continue, but Portland, an all-important point in their chase for playoff seeding here in the West. And then not a Western Conference match, but pertinent to Austin FC in the Supporter Shield race, which, of course, the Shield is gone, has been gone for Austin FC for a while now, but there are CONCACAF Champions League implications if Austin can pass Montreal in these last 2 games 4 points back are Austin after the 1-0 win for Montreal over New England. So a blow there to our hopes. But I think there's something like if we would finish third in the Supporters Shield, and I think like one of those top two teams, LAFC or Philadelphia Union, would win the cup and not us, that we would sneak into like the 4th spot for the MLS teams. But yeah, we'll keep an eye on that. It does not seem, especially with a pretty friendly pair of games coming up for Montreal to close out the season, it doesn't seem like Austin FC is going to be able to get there, but they, 2 wins gives you a chance. So we'll see how that plays out. So we've got international break here, right? Mm-hmm. No games in the MLS this coming weekend. Actually, I think there's a game or two, maybe like a makeup from earlier in the season, but not a weekend that the 90% of the league going to be inactive the weekend of the 25th here. So I figured we'd hold off on previewing Vancouver until next week. But a couple things here. I mentioned earlier that we were going to play a USL side here this weekend. The team will play friendly against El Paso Locomotive, again, behind closed doors. So I assume that's going to be at the Performance Center. Maybe we see some fans out there on Verde Hill with their binoculars and such watching that match. But, should be a good chance for guys to stay in form, get a couple, game type minutes, and then hopefully rotate some of those other guys in there, the Kip Kellers of the world, etc. Briefly touched on the Owen Wolff call up. Just wanted to kind of clarify on that. He's called up once again to that U19 USA side, going overseas to Slovenia to play in the Slovenia Nations Cup. And that is 3 matches. They take on Malta Wednesday the 21st here, taking on Croatia 2 days later on the 23rd, and then Scotland on the 27th. I'm not sure, to be honest. I did not look up if that. I assume that's a group stage.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And they would have knockout rounds to follow. But just those are the 3 matches that we'll see Owen Wolff play in. If there's a way to stream those games easily, I think we'll probably tweet them out from the podcast account at the North End Pod there on Twitter, just so anybody interested can watch our boy, in some meaningful international action out there. So good luck to Owen and the U19s this coming week. Again, he's one of 6 Austin FC Academy players at the various age levels to be called up to the U.S. youth men's national teams this year. Last thing I wanted to touch on, and I don't have a ton of information on it. I did not deep dive into everything that occurred or has occurred since. But we talked about Drew Yearwood a couple weeks ago, his kick of the ball into the stands, hitting some of his home fans.
Yes.
This a little bit more serious, believe it or not.
With Yearwood?
No. So I set that up a little bit odd, I guess, for Drew Yearwood. We're not talking about Drew again, but we're talking about DC United, and they were playing Inter Miami this weekend. Miami wins on a stoppage time goal from Gonzalo Higuain, 3-2. But DeAndre Yedlin, and you'll know his name, former U.S. national team player. We saw him at Q2 earlier this season in the second game of the year. He accused, and some of his other teammates accused Taxi Fountas, DC. I believe he's one of their DPs. Dude has had some stretches this season where he scored in bunches. Apparently, he dropped a racist slur in the direction of I forget which Miami player it was, so I apologize. But that I guess that I bring it up to say this, and there's not a ton of good things we can say about it, and I just wanted to note that that's a pretty Fountas is one of the big names on DC United. DC United is one of the original MLS teams. There has not been a lot of coverage of this like pretty high profile allegation, right?
Yeah.
And I just don't see a ton of coverage. Like if you search Taxi Fountas, you see
I'm looking
CNN,
at it right now.
Washington Post, BBC,
yeah,
and Miami Herald there in Miami, but like no direct MLS sources writing about this. And at least here Monday afternoon, and this happened on Saturday, I believe. I don't think this game. No, okay. This game I think was at noon Central yesterday. I think it was the early match. But regardless, I was just kind of surprised that there's not a ton out there about this in the actual MLS sphere, where like I think most of the fans would see something like that. And I can understand a league,
some sort of
trying to distance itself or like keep that just muted, right? I don't think they're certainly not going around like a Texas A&M trying to take a video down on the internet.
Shots late here on the North End pod.
But yeah, it's I don't know, man. Obviously not a good look. I would hope that that's not true. But we'll see how it plays out. And I just wanted to bring it to your attention because I know you probably didn't see that and just kind of raise the question. Mm-hmm. Where's the coverage, right? And I haven't, maybe to be fair, maybe those guys on Extra Time or some outlet like that will touch on it on their pod today.
Okay.
But yeah, it was just again one of the certainly a negative outcome for the league.
Definitely no place for that.
No, of course not.
Definitely no place for that.
So yeah, I guess, and don't want to end on that note, but I guess that's kind of where I steered us here.
We're just bringing the news to people. We don't make the news. We're just delivering it.
Yeah, just picking and choosing what we're going to talk about here. And again, without the Vancouver preview, which will come next week, we get to end right around an hour here, which is where we want to be for you all. We appreciate you tuning in, sticking with us this long. Hopefully every week we don't lose your attention and can hold you around for an hour because we really appreciate all the listens and people making comments, whether it's on Twitter, on the YouTube, getting involved in the discussion with us. That's the type of stuff we want to foster, kind of what we want to add to this community, right?
Facts.
And I think next week, obviously, we'll preview Vancouver. We can talk about maybe the results from Owen Wolf's U19s.
Okay.
Any games over the weekend. And I think maybe we can talk a little bit of nonsense, and nonsense being maybe some NBA talk, some NFL, some of the other things that we're well versed in and
sneak it in there.
Things that we can certainly talk about a lot more during the MLS offseason when we're just covering news and signings and things like that.
We can talk for days.
We can. We will certainly on that podcast and any podcast in the future keep that stuff till the end. Give everybody fair warning if you are only here for the Austin FC stuff that we're diving into that other other nonsense. So, but I think that we can talk a little bit about that. Maybe some Super Bowl picks. I know you'll probably talk about LeBron.
Here we go.
Stuff like that. So looking forward to that. Again, we appreciate everybody tuning in, sticking with us this long. You can follow the show on YouTube or Twitter at the North End Pod. Click follow on Twitter, click subscribe on YouTube. I haven't done this in a couple episodes. I'm not so great at like the self promotion, I think, but we'll sneak it in here. Apple, Spotify, Spreaker, YouTube, hit the thumbs up, hit subscribe, rate and review if you've got 5 seconds to click the 5 stars or, write a sentence or two. Yeah. Hey,
to the algorithm.
Yeah. We just want to continue to grow our audience at whatever pace we can. And again, continue to try to give back to that Austin FC fan base and community. And looking forward to, maybe we bring on a guest next week to get to know another member of the community and see what they have to say headed into the stretch run here. So be on the lookout for that. And until then, we will talk to everyone next week. Enjoy your week this week. Enjoy not having to stress for 2 hours this week the result of an Austin FC game, and those guys, that stress will be back in our lives in
soon
2
enough.
weeks. So for Ian, I'm Zach. We'll see you guys next time. Until then, vamos Austin FC. Goodbye.
3, 2